The thing that's difficult about that is the fact that you move to a Game 5, and then we bring up all of the graphics about Zeka in Game 5s where he just never loses and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, but Hanwha Life was on a 15-game win streak in Game 1, and KC broke that.
You can't break 2 in the same series, though.
Well, isn't it more likely? If you broke one, then the other. It doesn't mean that much, right?
I think you just gave Max an existential crisis.
Yeah,
he
no,
was
I'm like trying to figure it out now. I'm like, is that record even relevant at all? Like, now that they've lost Game 1,
Does
what
anything
do things
matter
anymore? Who am I?
What am I doing with my life?
I'm reading a draft. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
The Poppy and the Renekton both taken away, and there is Peanuts Nidalee and the Yone taken away from Zeka, understandably so there as well. The Akali is still available.
Was gonna say, yeah, Kali is up, and as much as they're kind of like joking, half joking, well, at least he can't play Silas anymore. Well, he can play Akali if you don't ban it, and they are leaving it open, which I think is a bit shocking. I do think Zeka has the confidence to just play it.
I don't know whether you first... Do you first
No, I don't think you first pick it because they're never going to take it.
All right, Vi's available as well.
But you just take Vi, and then you can take it on 2-3.
No, they're going to go via Kali again.
Oh, it's the Bash Brothers all over again.
It's literally what they did yesterday, except even more so than what they did in the previous game, because they were a combined 33 and 30. Yes, you heard that right, with the Vi Akali, which has been left up. This is bold from KC.
Yeah, I heard you say it yesterday, and it felt really.
It sounds fake.
Yeah, it was really like difficult to hear then, and now it's even more difficult to hear. So it doesn't get easier. Is the Pantheon going to be locked in here by Canna? Can be going a multitude of places, but likely towards Yike, and has actually worked out quite effectively so far. The Vi as well has been under some scrutiny, some criticism for a lot of people, but Peanut has had recently some pretty great games on it.
Caliste is looking really stressed. I mean, he goes Draven, but he does not look happy about it at all. Like, he was having a discussion there with the coach, and I mean, I think realizing you want me to go Draven, but they're probably going to play via Kali, aren't I just going to be dead every fight? Like, you know, it can be tough. I mean, Draven blind as well? I don't really understand.
I really do feel like, because if we can think of it, KC must have at least some sort of plan, right? Like, I'm talking out there, Renata to me is an obvious pick that I think you want to look towards now because it'll make it a lot easier to play out.
Okay.
As is this better? I'm not so sure. I don't think it is, as Atlas also looks very, very distraught next to me because this duo has run the LCK for a good amount of time. Whenever one is picked, the other always gets banned very consistently. But I am wondering what the answer from KC is going to be, because I think that already this game is going to be so hard to play out for Caliste. And we've seen the Draven, when he does get shut down, he just doesn't really get to play the game. That is a blind Camille to come through here.
Now it's harder to play for Caliste. Because now you have triple dive champions.
There's a lot of things that can sort of single out a Draven and make him dead. In this game. So that is looking a little bit worrisome. The other side of it is, yes, we talk about the Akali. It's the champion that Zeka has a skin on, but he debuted in the LCK on Ahri. Actually, it was the first person to play the reworked Ahri after she got slightly changed, as well as a Kennen being a consideration here. Vladi going to lock that one in for Canna most likely.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, Renata I also think could be kind of a giga pick. It's pretty good with the Draven and, you know, potentially hostile takeover, bailout, you know, that can turn around a fight. Kennen, I think, can do somewhat similar things in that if you're overcommitting onto Caliste, and then Kennen comes in with a big ulti across all these members that are trying to dive, Pantheon's there with the peel. So the idea that KC's going with is less peel, more counter-engage, right? You know, punish the overcommitment to one member. That is what they're going to be counting on. And I do like it as a plan because it's also a good match up top here for Canna in the 1v1 against Zeus, at least in the early levels. We all know Camille hits a certain point where she kind of just doesn't care about the matchup anymore because she presses Q, you lose half your health. But banning out some of these good long-range matchups into the Draven as well, I think also very smart from KC. Caitlyn and Ziggs both gone.
It's the non-interactive lanes, right? Ziggs just completely negates laning phase. Caitlyn is one of the few champions that just by virtue of her range, especially if you slam a Karma alongside it as well, just gets to you really pressure in lane. What is going to be the counter pick here? Most likely for Vladi, because support counter pick I think is actually a big deal here. Can really change the nature of a lot of these matchups, and also makes I think the Renata pick a lot more safer if you're picking in response, as That is the Galio to come through
All
here.
counter engage, it feels like. You know, it's just, okay, you're going to dive in on us, and then you're going to get Kennen ulted, Galio ulted, taunted up, and if it is Renata as the last pick, that could be incredibly, incredibly strong because that is still available. I'm trying to think through of the kind of AD options here. You know, there are things like, you know, like Jinx and like Corki and whatnot, but none of the options that I'm thinking of really feel good into Draven that are still available. You can go towards mages and play some of those types of things. Xayah is going to be tough in the laning phase, but it is, if they're trying to dive in onto you, obviously really good at absorbing that engage. You know, if it is instead the Kennen flying in instead of trying to peel. But the options do become quite limited. You know, normally people play kind of like long-range things into Draven, like the Ashe, like the Caitlyn, like the Varus, but those are, of course, all gone. So options were limited.
Gragas.
And it's going to be Gragas support, I'm assuming, unless they're going to get really
Camille
cooking.
support.
Camille support would be crazy. We used to see that back in the day with Hail of Blades and stuff, but like, I don't think
we've
into
seen
Draven.
It's got a nerfed
a little
lot.
bit.
Yeah, it's got a nerfed a lot. I think we saw it played once or twice in LCK Cup. Didn't look that convincing. But it does kind of keep unclear where things are going. So we'll see what the response from KC is going to be. That,
Renata is just...
complete no-brainer. The Renata does come through.
Renata's Giga pick. But why would they ban, you think, Pyke and Nautilus over that? Because it feels to me like such an obvious one. That's a little bit surprising. I mean, Targamas did play a Pyke game, but I'm a little bit surprised by the HLE bans.
Well, I guess because they wanted to, the Pyke at least makes sense for me with the Xayah, because Xayah already, I think, is going to really struggle in this lane. The Nautilus, yeah, especially because Renata was up. So I think if you ban Nautilus, like you save the Nautilus ban, and then if they go Nautilus, you go Renata, and otherwise, I think you can play around it a little bit more. Not going to be the case.
They're playing with it.
It's going to be Delight on yet another pick, going to be the Gragas here. And I got to imagine that they did know that Renata was coming, and the cost does have a lot of value into the Draven, who of course is stationary, so can get knocked back.
And the Kennen. Like, Kennen obviously really wants to just go in with the Slicing Maelstrom, but if you get cast away, then you kind of just stand there with a lot of lightning around you, doing not very much at all. Likely that Delight is also going to be wielding the Exhaust at the same time, so can really do a fair bit to stop that little Pikachu from doing anything.
As we look at the oranges, that Renata to me is going to be the key difference maker. If Targamas can find big value in the team fights, I think that the angles that Hanwha Live is going to have to be really, really crisp, because both the ultimate, the fact that you're basically fully short-range combat, even Xayah doesn't have that much effective range, combined by all the counter-engage that's there, we'll see. But the laning phase has been the really big difference, and if this Draven falls behind, I do think the comp falls apart.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of the same conversation we had in Game 2, where I really like KC's draft, and if you can get to late game on even terms, I think KC almost always wins with that Game 2 draft, but that is a big if, based on how HLE has been playing these last 2 games. They've given up 1 tower over the last 2 games. That is pretty dominant.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Kennen ult, Galio ult, Renata ult, that's terrifying too.
See what happens as we dive into Game 4. All right. Big cheers. We saw the blue wall outside is looking real thick. There is not a lot of room to walk around that one at all.
How many Cs?
It's a lot of Cs. Maybe 3, but maybe it's only 2. I don't know. Like,
I thought you were going to go with like 5.
No, I think the cap really dictates. Like, Cap has the cap of the Cs, I think. His name even starts with C.
It's like Wolf in the certification. The Zeri moments.
There are certain things that belong to certain people, and I can't put that many Cs on. As Zeka with the sad B. Happy B there from Mr. Galio.
It's worth noting that there is no exhaust, so Delight did decide to go Ignite. That's pretty common, honestly, with the Gragas support because you are playing kind of so aggressively. But yeah, no exhaust versus Kennen is always a little bit of a question mark. Can be pretty spooky if that Kennen can find the perfect engage.
Well, Delight spots everyone out here as they do eventually move over. Can take the body slam, of course, as Peanuts moving in as well.
What is he doing?
I don't know. He's sort of just auto-moving into the brush. He's going to be lit on fire. There's that Ignite that you were talking about as he flashes over the wall. Yike now as well in a really weird position. First blood goes over to Peanut. Yike is going to have to flash, but the immediate follow is there from Zeus, who might be starting the game with another one. Yep, there we go. The hook shot comes off cooldown, and he takes down the enemy jungler here. That could not have gone worse.
I mean, Caliste just completely lost track of where his team was. I guess he just didn't realize that they weren't walking with him because they were both going over to the Raptor pit. He just walked in completely blind and face-checked the brush. And you're starting this elimination game down all of these kills. I mean, it's right here. Yike is over, gonna start the Raptors. Why are you solo invading the red?
Well, not only that, but even if Caliste doesn't walk that far up, like Zeus is also here. They clearly read this play. The invade comes through. Caliste goes down, and the only thing they get out of this is Yike gets Raptors. And guess what? That's not going to be worth. Zeus is going to behind a little bit in experience because of this whole sequence. And that means that Canna gets to play out the lane with a little bit more dominance. You can see no CS yet, but he has a kill.
Yeah, and now you're playing Draven with no flash, no barrier, and you have no heal on Targamas. And that is a really rough situation to be in. You want to play for lane dominance with this comp. We talked about as long as they can stay even, you know, things could look okay. But it is already really tough from the word go.
There is a lot of team fighting potential. If they can stabilize things here in this game, then a mid game could look okay, utilizing a lot of these R buttons that they do have. It's not all doom and gloom, but it's a lot of doom and gloom, like a lot. To start this one off, we saw that HLE did not require a start like this to look good in the last couple of games. As Viper, I think, wanting to get out of this lane for a little bit. And Peanut, here going to be taking down his blue buff. Will be able to finish a full clear very, very quickly, as it is going to be the Rift Scuttler before the Wolves.
And as it is, you know, we have to find an angle. And the angle is that
it's our job.
At least Caliste, as long as they don't punish him for the flash, kills didn't go to his direct lane opponent, right? Because that, I think, if that's like Viper that picks up 2 kills, I actually think the game just becomes nigh unplayable. It is Peanut and Zeus that pick up those kills. Zeus hasn't backed yet, so hasn't actually been able to utilize this gold. As Yike going in for the repeat invade, I don't know if there's much that Hanwha can do about this. Peanut clearly wants to try and go for the smite.
See whether he can actually get it, as Yike will once again be able to take down these Raptors. So holds a monopoly on that particular camp.
Yeah, nicely done. And honestly, the gold lead is insignificant at this point. You know, it's just the 200 gold. So great job recovering here from KC. Really rough start, but they're not just kind of collapsing from that. And we'll see what they can actually do from here. Still a slight advantage on that bot side there for Caliste. And he really is going to be such an important part. I mean, Draven from ahead, we know how strong it can be, but Draven from behind, especially against a comp like this, has almost no chance of survival.
It's also something we saw with the lane swap meta so much, is that experience particularly matters so much more. Zeus is also a champion that is both gold and experience reliant. And Canna has actually been able to build a really significant lead here because of the fact that Zeus showed up to lane late, has been bullying away as Peanut gets the counter. Doesn't look like Yike is going to actually check the brush, so Peanut just makes his way out of their heist. Completely successful.
Yep. Will be another Raptor camp to Yike, though. We know how much he likes those, so he's going to be pretty happy about how this one all worked out in the end. Viper with the Blade Caller, utilizing that in order to farm, of course, things quite hard as Xayah in this matchup. Draven, of course, early on, very, very dangerous. As Targamas, I mean, the double range as well. I mean, it doesn't look very good here for the HLE bottom lane, just for general laning.
I mean, it's really tough, right? And as the light, unless you're willing to commit to a body slam flash, there's handshake and stand aside for your E, right? It's very difficult to actually find that body slam. So you have to be super careful about when you're actually going for that engage. If you can't win the 100-0 play, you basically can't use your E. So his job is just kind of sustaining, just trying to zone Targamas away so he's not poking Viper. As long as you as the Gragas are taking that damage and Viper's getting farm, then you're kind of okay with how things are going.
Oh, this is really rough though because of Vladi getting chunked out so much. You've already TP'd back to lane. Looks like the free grubs are just going to go to Hanwha Life again. Yike does have a level lead. They do also have the bot lane swapping. Are ahead on that because the light's already here, but Viper still has to run a good amount of distance.
And then has first move as well. I think KC can actually fight this.
Yeah. Charm going wide there as well, as you can see. Peanut over the wall, so it should be 2 grubs over to KC. Peanut denying, I guess, a portion of feats of strength here for KC. They're not going to be holding that monopoly, and we know that they've been utilizing Void Grubs very effectively so far this series. Not going to be able to do so, at least for the first portion this time.
Yeah, that Ahri duo is really gated by both of them having level 6, so I think it's understandable. Kennen, also level 6, really has to be respected. Incredibly big impact in these early river fights, so KC not going to just let Hanwha Life get away with it. Pick up that objective for free as Now here in the 1v1 as expected, even with the early not quite going the way that obviously Casey was hoping for. Well, it's still fine. And you know, he didn't lose stacks.
Yeah.
That's something. He's been able to build up a good amount now. Once that ultimate is available, gonna try. And they do have so much CC and setup to try and secure him these early kills.
And the thing that I'm thinking is the fact that the early game that was so awful feels like a nightmare now, not actual, like, real League of Legends. So that's a phenomenal thing here for KC. They're also able to get themselves this Drake, largely to do with the fact that this composition in the laning phase is very, very strong, but the stabilization incredibly important against HLE.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge. You know, whether you draft it for strong lanes or not, just the fact that they are in a better position, that they're actually being able to get some pressure in these lanes is so big, because if you allow HLE to dictate the pace of the game as they have these last two, we've seen what that looks like, and it does not look good, but Peanut is here, and they may be going.
Oh, Yike is there as well. I think he's waiting, has his ultimate available, can join in a moment's notice.
Yeah, Grand Starfall could get in there. Hasn't pressed that button, though. And Peanut is also just going to wander away. Zeka dealing with this wave. Vladi's already sorted his out. We'll be able to get into position here, possibly setting up a trap for Zeka. Oh, this is scary. Justice Punch. Oh, not enough to actually connect. The charm is going to be there, and there's the stun, but Spirit Rush gets Zeka out and back in, and then potentially out again as well. But they still do get the cooldown on that ulti.
And the big thing here is you do have both Yike and Vladi with those semi-global ultimates, right? I think that's why they didn't want to pull the trigger on that bot side play, even though Peanut was clearly looking to try and take down Caliste. Not going to happen. And the small lead for Hanwha still just basically coming down to those early kills.
You can see, though, as soon as we saw both Yike and Vladi attack Zeka, the bot lane had to back off for KC, because then they know, all right, we can't actually have that response coming in if Peanut is still in the area, and Peanut was, in fact, still in the area. So they intelligently play that safe. They do back off. Of course, that means it's going to be a faster reset from Viper and Delight, who are heading out towards topside, potentially in preparation of these grubs.
Charm just barely going wide there, as Vladi has been doing a great job just clearing out these waves. We've seen Galio struggle a little bit in this tournament thus far. I mean, Honkyu's game comes to mind against KC themselves, where they really did abuse the Galio. This time around, hasn't been the case at all, and he's been doing just fine, as Delight going to find a body slam, and Canna going to be delivered to the hook shot. Nowhere that he can go, and that is just a very comfortable kill here for Viper, also getting the feats of strength as well.
He's wadded up to you!
Yeah.
Yeah, that was some disrespect from Canna. I just don't think he realized maybe that Zeus was still around. Maybe thinks Zeus isn't going to go for this, but yeah, not even having to commit the flash. The Light just kind of walks up and ults him.
That was the one winning lane!
The freebie.
He's there, you see the shield, you see the perk of the minion go over! And Canna, this was the one lane where they had actually a big lead, where he was able to apply this early pressure, and now that gold lead all but evaporated.
Yeah, and in the meantime, it was Zeus heading down towards the bottom side, so he ate himself an extra minion wave and has been able to at least farm up a little bit as well. He was really struggling in that lane. So you're exactly right, works as a bailout for the HLE top lane at the same time as getting themselves a portion of the feats of strength, getting Viper a kill. It's the good news doesn't really start here for KC.
Canna, though, they may be trying to go here for Zeus.
Yeah, hook shot, the buffer. Absolutely gorgeous, but he will get stunned on the wall there. That pushes him at least away for now. And Void Grub's up and available, and that will give KC the advantage as far as those pushes are concerned. The Void Might's going to be helping them out when they're trying to take down these turrets.
Yeah, I mean, if Canna had ulti there, it might have been able to get a kill or at least a flash, but of course he didn't. I still like the lane assignments here. Zeus is going to match the Galio, so they sent the Ahri down to bot where they were expecting the Kennen to be, but KC is saying, no, you can't actually just have free farm against the Galio. We're just going to keep moving the Kennen around to keep you locked in this lane, which I do think is very intelligent, because you are on a timer a little bit in this matchup, and they want to make sure they're keeping Zeus down for as long as humanly possible. You can't let him just farm against the Galio.
Wow, that sidestep was absolutely absurd. The charm going to connect onto Canna as well. Throws down the ulti though, and Zeka taking a lot of damage. Heroic entrance as well, but it's not enough. Peanut is able to lock down the kill before the gargoyle arrives. Does get the flash out from Peanut though, as he wanted to avoid the taunt. Another charm connecting here as it's magnetic for Zeka.
How does he get the crab out of that?
Well, he started hitting the crab after he flashed over the wall, Chronicler.
Oh.
Yeah, it seemed like you must not have been watching. That seemed pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You see, he killed them and then he flashed over the wall and took the crab.
That's how it's going to be, huh? Okay.
We're too powerful together.
You've been here a while.
As unfortunate there for Vladi, his ultimate does not actually protect from the physical damage that Peanut does, so Peanut just kind of slams him down. You see as well, kind of looking for a catch onto Zeka there, but very clearly Hanwha Life were super aware that this was happening. And now the gold lead that it felt like it stabilized, we can see it climbing here on the gold difference graph powered by WS.
And I really feel like now, as KC fan, you are praying for that big cash out for Caliste. He's been working on this. He's nearly up to 300 stacks. That first fight is even more important than it would normally be because you're already falling behind. And if you lose those stacks too, it is going to be so hard to battle back.
You can see there on his portrait, the adoration ticking over towards 300 pretty soon as well. So he is able to stack that one back up. The death was extraordinarily early in the game, so basically isn't relevant.
Actually wouldn't have missed any, right?
Yeah.
Except the autos on champions. Oh, Viper?
Yeah, Viper is taking a heck of a lot of damage. Whirling Death going to be avoided by the Feather Storm as Delight has his hand shook and isn't psyched about it. We'll be able to not get that minion as it turns up. So the aggression from Caliste certainly going to be netting them some positives here. As the Blast Cone going to be ridden together here, Zeus and Yike. But I don't know whether Yike really wins out on this one against this Camille, who does have Trinity Force now completed.
Yeah, the fact that Canna's around in the area, of course, is going to dissuade that. They don't know necessarily the Targamas is there, but still, if you overchase, then Canna gets you. Could be a big punish. And Zeus knows, just play it slow, play it steady. Eventually, we'll get to that point where Canna can't threaten the 100-0, and you really can. It does get very tough in the later stages as you just kind of get tankier and tankier, more and more HP. Your sustained damage is so much higher than that of the Kennen.
Yep, Cinder's on the map, and that does mean that we have an Infernal Soul this game as well, which is a fun one. A little bit spicy here. And remember what's on the line here. This is an extra seed for MSI. This is being the first victor of the first stand ever, right? Like this, there is so much here both of these teams are fighting for, and HLE wanting to pick up their first international win as this organization, even dating back to when it was known as the Rocks Tigers, right? So many phenomenal international performances, but none of them international championships. And so HLE, KC, both of them really desperate for a win here. And KC just to keep themselves alive in the tournament. Again, need to do something like killing Peanut here, which is what they were going for, the Grand Starfall. Oh dear.
Yeah, that hurts. It's such a long cooldown early on into the game that you're not going to have this for a long time now. You know, Yike really trying to get Caliste into this position we're talking about. You know, now closing in on 350 stacks. And that is a lot of gold waiting to be claimed, but Peanut in the meanwhile has taken away that blue buff.
Cool. Yike going to be able to come over and get the crab. Some good news here is the MasterCard lane economy snapshot showing us that, yeah, the mid-jungle duo from HLE are continuing to be pretty powerful in this series and this game. Peanut and Zeka will see whether they can get together and get things done. As you can see, up towards his top side, and Vladi going to get hit by the charm. Vault Breaker comes through, cease and desist. Can be lined up if he'd like to press the button, but he won't. He's going to let the Gargoyle escape for now.
Yeah, just happy to take up a chunk. You know, you can see that the Herald's going to be spawning here in 20 seconds. So, you know, just trying to delay the base, trying to keep Vladi from being out on the map at full health, and they can pressure this tower right here.
Might even get a turret out of it. And while it's really good that they were able to deny too many grubs, KC was from Hanwha Life, particularly with the Camille. If there's no one to protect the turret, isn't really anything that they can do, as there goes the first turret blood. That's Feats going over to Hanwha Life as well, and we are getting closer and closer to the point where KC, they're just going to need to somehow get Caliste a kill.
Yes.
And there are, again, many tools, but you can see as well, Hanwha Life are, I feel like, playing around it very careful. Oh, Canna.
Well, he was thinking about going for a bit of a back here and possibly baited in as there's the body slam flash from Delight. Put into the Hextech ultimatum, and Canna is just dead with the help of the turret. And Zeus able to really turn this matchup around now. Now having a gold lead as well. The only lane that KC were winning is now also blue.
It's just a really nice bait there from Zeus. The light is around, and Canna says, oh, you're pretty chunk low. Maybe I can actually find something. steps that little bit too far forward. Delight nails the engage, knocks him back in a tower, and there's just no chance
the bash
for him.
bros.
Oh dear. Remember, cease and desist still available as the Vault Breaker even lands. He flashes, but cease and desist has no justice for you, my friend. And he's taken down. Rift Herald does go over to KC in the meantime. But when they're bleeding these kills, like both Seoul lane is dying at exactly the same time, it feels like this game is starting to fall apart.
Oh, you can see there as well. They really want to try and get damage down. The bailout was used there just to try and get more damage out of Caliste. Couldn't quite find the stand aside. Viper just running it off. And we are slowly starting to see again that goalie, particularly in the mid-jungle, balloon to unmanageable proportions.
And I mean, Viper just knows his job is not to carry this game. Your job is to clear waves and wait for the side lanes to win, because right now both your solo laners are ahead, your jungler is way ahead, and you're just going to get to this point where you just continually go for picks through side lanes, and eventually KC are going to be forced to try to find a fight from a disadvantageous position. So, you know, Viper just needs to play calm, cool, and collected, get his farm, and be that teamfight presence that he always is later on. It's really up to Zeus, Zeka, and Peanut to just be that three-man squad, crushing KC through side lanes as they happen.
And it's certainly been working in the last couple of games. Viper here, walking up, a little bit dangerous, but the handshake is going to go wide. As the Rift Herald is here in this mid lane. Delight taking a few axes, as now Peanut might be getting out, also might be going in, but decides instead he will just exit the pit. As, all right, there's a Rift Herald. Hi, Shelly, how you doing? It's just a taxi over towards the dragon.
Yeah, wanted to make sure he wasn't time for the big fight.
It's actually really good.
The big fight, that is definitely happening, right? Yeah.
And unfortunately, it means not going to get a charge out of the Herald now mid, so even if it walks up, it won't be charging, and Viper's just going to be able to clear that out. Xayah's heading back up towards top side, so they may just give up this dragon and play for the tier 2 top, which I think is absolutely reasonable. You don't have to commit to this whatsoever. You're in a good spot. It's only the second dragon here from KC. You know, maybe Peanut fishes around to try for a steal, but don't need to.
Or do they just go for it anyways? The flash out from Targamas, he does avoid the charm. They take a lot of damage though. Zeka actually really hurting right now with 2 items completed. The dragon, 50 health. And it is going to be secured here by KC. Flash out from Peanut gets him to relative safety. In the meantime, outer turret in mid lane. Oh, and the cask is going to connect the charm to follow. But it's not enough to kill Targamas just yet, as the inner turret is also dead.
I love what Hanwha do there. It's literally just a free-man annoyance squad. Peanut trying to sneakily steal it away. And the harassment of both Zeka and Delight. Because meanwhile, Viper's pushing mid, and Zeus is pushing top. The gold lead now is getting to the point where, again, it's 6k gold at 19 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's 4 towers to 0. They're just playing it out so well, utilizing the mobility, right? Because all 3 of these champions are so mobile. They're just playing right on that engage range. You know, really the only thing you have to be worried about is like a flash taunt or a flash, stun there from Yike. But because they're playing far enough away, there wouldn't really be able to be follow-up immediately. And they're always going to be able to use that mobility to get right back out. It's just excellently played here from HLE. A masterclass on how to play the map.
It's particularly because with this Renata, as good as it is, if Hanwha Life never commit, like Azure, the only pieces of engage they have are single target, unless it's a multi-man taunt, and very short range. So as long as you stay away from them, like how does KC actually start
you away?
Exactly. So how do you start a fight? You need enough map control to somehow find a flank with Canna and get into the enemy backline. But we're getting to the point where you're gonna have to just straight up like throw Yike in with an ult just so you can follow up, but I don't know if that's going to be enough with how the gold and the items have just completely slipped away from KC.
Yeah. The thing that's a real worry for me as well is that KC tried to sort of cheat it, right? Because they have a lot of champions with these globals that can try and just sort of cheat away tempo. With the fact that you have the heroic entrance, the Grand Starfoil, even the whirling death that can come through, they can affect the map pretty globally. But none of that has been able to be utilized because HLE have had so much control throughout this entire game.
Or maybe top lane.
Yeah, it could be an opportunity here. Zeus with hookshot says, no, there's not an opportunity here. In fact, it's impossible to kill me.
He would have needed to hit the stand aside, right? If you can actually interrupt there, then maybe there's some sort of opportunity where you can chase in, but it's going to be so hard. It's desperation hours.
Oh, Caliste, if he dies here, it could just all be over, and he is definitely dead. Peanut, there's fists were made for talking, as Yike now also in trouble. Delight with the body slam comes through. Zeus turns up as well, and Yike is also on the floor. HLE just taking him down one after the other. Another inner turret should be going down here as the minion wave is still very healthy. And is that 5 turrets to nothing? How many turrets? Like the last 3 games, it's just 1, right?
Yeah,
that was a lot. Like it was a long shot, but Caliste getting a big shutdown. I think that was the one angle outside of maybe some side lane picks with those double globals. But with him going down, I think that might be it. Peanut just ahead of the rotation, catches him early, and the moment any CC connects, you know this Draven is 100% dead.
And they layered it perfectly, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's Peanuts all into the root, into the Delight all, into the body slam, into the ball breaker, everything back to back to back to back. I mean, we're now at 24 towers to 1 over the last 3 games. And HLE has just been dominating the map completely.
8,000 gold. Now the lead as well, and for 22.5 minutes, that is pretty absurd. As here in these side lanes, it's another one of these compositions that does 1-3-1 really effectively, and if a 1-3-1 composition is ahead, it is so hard to play into.
And the problem is, you have the globals to like try and collapse into someone, but they're all at 2 items!
Yeah.
At 22 minutes! If you try to collapse into Zeus, he just Q2s your face and you go down!
And we saw there that he just walked up to 3 people, like not really afraid of being collapsed on.
He does have Otacon right now, so I think he's gonna play extra aggro.
Well, they do have a ward over this wall. Will be discovered here as the control ward does go down. As Zeus not going to get justicely punched and just walks back into the taunt. There are 4 people here. Remember, does of course have the Otacon, but instead just walks away from the Comet Spear, walks back towards Caliste as he throws out the hook shot. Zeus, you are, that's all, it's bordering on rude. Honestly, that was bordering on rude. Whirling Death is not really going to connect there, and the thumbs up, a little bit of a worry as the charm is going to bring Targamas through the base gate as another taunt is going to connect, but it's even Delight that seems too tanky. He's going to withdraw, and Viper is in the enemy base as the Xayah. They're looking to break it open here at 24 minutes. And I think HLE are pretty ready to become our first stand champions here, as game number 4 is looking nigh impossible here for KC as Vladi not going to get Vault breaking. His Vault is still unbroken.
It is intact.
Although it has taken a beating previously.
Okay, yeah, it really has. There's not a lot of money, unfortunately, for KC. Hanwha did kind of steal most of it. It's going to be the second dragon going over to Hanwha. But I have a very hard time, and I think we all do, writings on the wall to see how you actually get back into this game, right? No kills have been found, no turrets have been found.
Oh, Canna is dead. But there's another fight going on here, as we can see. Double body slam. There's a gorgeous cask as Delight lined him up, put him exactly where he wanted him, and no bailout is going to be enough. Yeah, you could post all the money you have, and it would not get you out of that prison. As Zeus moves into this mid lane to take down yet another inhibitor turret. Inhibitor's going to be falling one after the other, as well as HLE take bottom. They take mid. They might even be able to take top lane if they get that minion wave in order, as well as the rest of them moving on over. It's very early in this game, so it's not likely to be just the end, as the inhibitor does survive somehow. Justice Punch onto Zeka. The taunt is going to connect as well. Caliste moving over, lands the stand aside, but he's charmed as the flash finally is used, and the Whirling Death is just wide. But there's the Winds of War to come on through. The immediate heroic exit here for Vladi at the same time. It's Caliste with the bailout. Is going to take down Zeus. And cease and desist. I don't know about that one, Peanut. That was really a little bit of an overstep, you could say. And HLE probably stop going in now. It's KC. They find themselves here after losing most of their base. They're moving towards the Baron.
Yeah, they were just looking for even more, though. They're just looking to scrap here in a 2v5. They're taking the fight.
Okay, Delight and Viper, this is, there's limit testing and there's limit testing. They are moving them away from the Baron.
Well, they just want to ensure that they don't actually get to walk to Nash, which they don't. Yeah, definitely started with Zeus. I think Peanut the most egregious by far there, as he still ends up going in.
But we're all the way back here to this 1v1.
Yep, you hit that point in the game where that's how it looks. That's the matchup. But, you know, Zeka didn't have ulti here. He does have flash to buy a little bit of space, but you have got to just fully commit to plays like this, try to get something, and Vladi at least gets them their first kill of the game, gets them on the board, and then Zeus tries to go into the back line. He was already low when he went in. Caliste gets the bailout, flashes forward, gets the shutdown. This was like 2K gold, immediate injection over into the KC side. So does give them that little bit of hope, but I do think we're going to see HLE just regroup and go back at it with full health bars.
That's a lot of shutdowns. It's still an 8K gold deficit.
It is, but it's not a 12K gold deficit, which is kind of what it was before.
Is this how I sound when I try to be optimistic?
Yes.
Yeah, you're that annoying, Chronicle.
Actually, it's worse now. I'm just kidding.
As unfortunately, that alone's not going to be enough. We're going to need to see more of those heroics, and this is the real issue. KC did invest a lot of sums, like very heavily. There was multiple flashes there. Just to try and make this happen, and I still don't think that they can do anything about the Baron that seems imminent here for Hanwha.
They're already 2-man on it, and Zeka and the rest of the team is just going to try to zone them away. Well, Viper and Peanut do take it down. They get the vision,
given,
so we'll see.
I'm going to connect onto Targamas, but not going to be dead just yet. And what is the answer? How are you supposed to get in here outside of just Yike ulting in? He certainly could do that, as Zeus wanting to stop that one from happening. The cask going to be used just to remove them from the pit. And you're right, it's only Peanut that's kind of in there. Viper finally comes back and starts hitting it with some autos. In goes Zeus, and Yike unable to get the steal, but they're still able to get the kill onto Peanut. The answer is going to be there in Canna. He now has that ulti on cooldown. Zeus taxis in, kills the Kennen, and survives.
Oh my god, it's just not fair. How does Zeus get away with that? He's in the backline 1v3, survives, comes back with 5% health over the wall, gets the kill. Yike tries to go for the heroic play here, and who can blame him from the position? Can't quite get the smite, down to 290 health before Peanut claims it. And just look at Zeus, frustration there for KC as they don't quite have the damage, and he survives to get out and help get that kill.
That is so unfair. He solo zones 3 people and then even CC's Canna on his way out. Oh, very rude, but beautifully played from the top laner of HLE. They will now have the Red Bull Baron for 2 minutes. Now, power play already up to 1.7. That is, of course, what you kind of get from killing it. But I think that may expand. As you can see, bottom lane being pushed in, top lane as well. Inhibitor a minute away from respawning in the mid. KC desperately trying to hold on to their chances here at first stand. Teleport is optimistic from Zeus. Let's see whether this 1v2 is going to work out. He is level 17. And there is a heroic entrance. So with 3 people, it might work out. Not timing the Hextech ultimatum just right here, but the rest of HLE are going to turn up. The bailout onto Canna is going to be able to keep him alive, but he's dead immediately afterwards. And Viper says, enough of this silly business. I'm looking to try and win the game with double siege minions. Both of these Nexus turrets are going to die. Vladi going golden, but he can't defend as the hostile takeover is fantastic, but he does have the Featherstorm still. Avoiding the feathers, though, is Vladi. Can he get more here as Targamas is chasing after him, and Viper, man against the world, he's going to be able to take down Targamas, but there he goes, Comet Spear to take him out.
Off screen, yeah, they were delighted. Viper were pushing, they were able to kill Caliste and then go for the game, as meanwhile Zeus, bold as you like, just TPs in on their face. They take the fight, it goes KC's way, so KC will survive. The Hextech ultimatum, as you called out, Max, just not timed that well. He was trying to use it on the heroic entrance, didn't actually find the timing, goes in a little bit early, gets CC'd up, locked down, even with Zeka and Peanut coming in. Zeka gets hit by the taunt and loses so much health as he enters.
And we see Peanut then tries to 1v1 Yike and actually loses, which I understand why he thought he can, but you can't disrespect the Pantheon like that. And then here Caliste is trying to solo hold, but obviously not going to be able to do that in a 1v2 scenario. But because the rest of the top side of Hanwha Live took some liberties that they shouldn't have, reinforcements can arrive. Nexus turrets can respawn now. So there is a possibility for a hold, but we do see in the picture the Infernal Soul, I think, or is it just the Infernal Drake? Yeah, the third Drake getting secured. And we are still in this game.
The game still goes.
HLE having a bit of fun with it for sure. Enjoying their victory lap, it feels like, as they are so far ahead, but we'll see if KC can pull off a miracle. You know, you get a little bit overconfident a few too many times. You give over some shutdowns, maybe you give over something like a Baron. Maybe KC can find a way to claw back into this, but HLE still massively ahead.
A Peanut of all people should know this. He's the man that has found his fair share of 10K gold. Well, I say fair share as if it's been a lot. There's been a few. of 10k deficit comebacks. And I do think that the KC comp will always struggle when the fight is very spread out. But if they can just continue this, eventually the gold lead is going to mean less and less, right? We're already getting to that point. The mid lane inhibitor is still up. And I think KC, there's still a chance. It's not a big chance. We got to be realistic. And I think it also relies on Hanwha, who have very clearly been playing with reckless abandon.
Yeah, there's some fast and loose moves being pulled here as Zeka is going to use the ultimate, but you can see Caliste starting to do a lot of work here. That was just one of these axes, and the Ahri lost a third of her health. That is certainly good news here for KC, but they've only got one turret left remaining. Two of them are going to be respawning, but this is the last one that they can lose for real. And some inhibitors also in a little bit of trouble as Canna are going to be trying to clean things up. And here they are back once again. And the cast going to separate Targamas, but now the re-engage. The charm just going to interrupt everything as the Grand Starfall. Not exactly timed perfectly here by Yike as the full engage hadn't actually occurred from HLE. They're just going to move back. They're going to take the inhibitor in mid lane. And they're playing it a lot slower now. You can feel it.
This is a pretty marked difference in how they played before, right? Just playing for the inhibs, playing to ensure that KC doesn't get to play the game. Baron is going to come up, and as much as we have been kind of laughing at the antics of Hanwha Life, they do have a short-range composition. Their siege is actually quite weak because the fact that Viper obviously needs to walk up quite close. He's waiting now, as I say that, and the antics are done. There is just a Xayah waiting alone for someone to walk towards the brush. So does have GA, but would still be kind of out in the middle of nowhere. I think now the issue for KC is, though, they can't actually walk up.
Yeah, which target is he looking for? That's kind of the question that I have, because it's likely that Yike is the one that's going to be walking in to try and...
Gotta be Renata, right?
Yeah. He could definitely kill the Renata.
They also need to have an answer for Zeus, which is going to be tough.
Well, Vladi is looking to try and be that as the hookshot gets Zeus out of there, not wanting to scuffle in the 1v1. And Viper picks up the wave in mid lane. The Baron getting pinged out here, and I imagine that HLE probably wanted to move over and grab their second one of those.
It's looking like it. Another buffer. That is so annoying.
Yeah.
But Canna playing over on that side. Zeka looking for potential flank here.
Yeah, Charm going to connect there onto Yike. Not going to invest any more than that, as we do have the re-engage onto Zeus once again, and that's the hookshot for the third time in a row.
That's flash.
And yeah, did have to use the flash, so that is certainly important.
Oh, that ward actually showing that they are currently not on the Baron, but they can two-man this very easily. Teleport is going to come in as well just to ensure, and KC, I think rightly identified, they just can't get to that objective.
Yeah, and
Yike, maybe the steal.
This is actually, yeah, so they do get the vision. Whirling Death is going to hit Zeka, so it doesn't get towards the Baron. No chance for that one to steal things away, and we're not going to invest a full Pantheon to try and take that down when they couldn't see that health bar. And HLE just grabbed themselves an uncontested Baron and now look to use that to take down the Nexus turrets for the second time in this game.
Feels like it's all up to Caliste, really, trying to set him up. He does have 4 items completed now. He is kind of that strong member at this point.
Yeah.
KC can find the perfect angle. We'll see.
Yeah, Yike is certainly off on a flank angle here as the Grand Starfall to get him in, but the immediate body slam to delay it. Viper just pulls back the feathers. There's a dead Pantheon. The two-man body slam is gorgeous as the defensive ulti from Vladi is trying to get things done. Hostile takeover is going to connect onto Zeka, but he goes golden in the nick of time. Targamas hit by the feathers, and now Zeus turns up, and all of KC are going to be on the floor. Their last dance in this first stand as HLE are looking to take down the Nexus for the 3rd time in this best of 5 and become your first stand champions.
And the first game gave us hope. A back and forth, a crazy streak being broken. But then game number 2, 3, and 4, it was Hanwha Life showing why they are the LCK representative here at First Stand.
And HLE throughout this whole event just on another level than the rest of the competitors. KC still should be very proud, made it to the finals here. Did Europe proud, a great debut for most of these players internationally.
Absolutely.
A lot to be excited about with this KC club, for sure. Took down CFO in a really exciting series, but HLE, they are just different. These guys have looked so incredible. They really do showcase the fearless style.
They certainly do. But in our trophy ceremony presented by Mercedes-Benz, HLE will lift an international trophy for the very first time. Peanut has been, of course, able to lift it, but with a different team, with SKT back in the day, but now with the team that took over from the Rocks Tigers in their slot in the LCK. It means so much that Peanut, even now, is able to help that organization, or at least the one that took them over, hoist a trophy for the first time.
And Zeus as well, gonna go for his trophy lift. First time not with T1, forging his own path with HLE.
Ensuring he doesn't bonk his head on the trophy again.
Yeah, definitely a good idea.
He did last time as Zeka. His development from what was known as a fluke, you know, that DRX road run, it was magical while it was happening. But the fact that now he is the mid laner that he is with a crazy champion full, Viper and the like, the bro talent, always looking giddy. Got to play some fun stuff today as well.
He certainly did. I think his game one from Delight wasn't exactly the greatest, but every other game this tournament, Delight has been unbelievably good.
I mean, it's just been such a pleasure watching HLE throughout this event, bringing out all kinds of different picks. We got to see Zed, we got to see Vladimir, we got to see Kale, we got to see set support, we got to see Quinn top. We saw so many unique picks brought out and played to the highest level possible. It is just so much fun to watch these guys play. They truly are masters of their craft, seem to be able to play each and every single style that there is. And it's just something for everyone else to aspire to and for everyone else to be pretty scared of going into the rest of the year and these upcoming internationals.
Well, the thing is, and now everything is fearless. So I think you were watching before and you were like, oh yeah, but like we don't have to be this good and fearless because it's going back to like regular League of Legends after this. Not anymore. We are fearless forever. And taking on HLE in a format like this is something that only D plus Kia not too worried about as far as our league is concerned, because they also did pretty well in the format. But HLE certainly setting the bar pretty high for not only the LCK teams, but teams across the world.
As some more fan signs we get to see here. A classic. Hanwha Life.
The 4D signs.
Oh yeah, yeah. Really stepping it up here.
끝까지 가면 우리가 이긴댔지.
It's gonna open it up, and out come the needles as they chip away at that front line. Hanwha Life Esports looks like they have finally done it.
Zeka, he's just always biding his time.
그런데
제우스를
제가 좀 위험하긴 하거든요.
제우스가
위험한 거예요?
제우스 이거 드리블 되나요?
위험한 거예요? 제우스 안 위험한 것 같은데요? 제우스 안 위험하네요. 제우스는 위험하지 않습니다. 하나 생명.
It's happening, Zane!
Yes! What in the...
Yo, stats team, give it! Zed, though, still gonna put on the pressure. The Ignite is coming in. Zeka, one last auto, it doesn't need it. A super dominance game from Hanwha Life Esports as they continue.
But Viper and Peanut are going forward. It's so many kills for Viper. There's no hope for KC and HLE. Bury him in the bot lane. I feel like that guarantees them moving on to the bracket stage now.
Kill goes the way of HLE. Zeka crushing the fight. It's HLE working their magic time and time and time again. Can they get something back here? It's Zeus. Of course it's him, the Thunder God himself. HLE will not be stopped. Will march towards the finals.
여러분 큰 박수로 축하합니다. 바로 생명 e스포츠입니다. 데미지로 하면 이거 변신으로 살아갑니다.
하나 생명 맞부활.
예, 국제대회 우리도 우승해야겠거든.
그럼 막으면서 1대1이 됐습니다.
아, 1레벨 지렸다. 나이스.
(2025) 퍼스트 스탠드 토너먼트 파이널
Here for the
7일간의
winners
뜨거운
interview
여정 끝에 새로운
2025's
역사의 시작을
First Stand
알린
Tournament
초대
Finals.
챔피언이
After
탄생했습니다.
7 intense days of
SST의
competition,
새로운 전설.
history has
초대
been made.
우승을 거머쥔 팀은 바로
Today, we
하나팀
crown the very
esports입니다. 큰
first
박수
champions of
부탁드립니다.
FST. The team that has secured the inaugural championship title is Hanwha Life Esports.
네, 그럼 우승한
Let's give them a
선수
big round of
감독님
applause.
모셔서 함께 인터뷰 나누어 보겠습니다.
Now,
축하드립니다,
let's hear
선수.
from the players and the head coach of Hanwha Life Esports. Congratulations, Zeus.
피넛 선수와 함께 우승을
You
하고
said you
싶다라는
wanted to
포부를
win it all with
밝혀주시기도
Peanut.
했는데요. 그 목표를 이루어내셨습니다.
How does it feel to achieve your goal
도입된 퍼스트 스탠드라는
and
국제대회
become the
우승하게 된
inaugural
소감이
champion of the
어떠신가요?
new international tournament?
일단 올해 초 시작을 너무 좋게 하는
I
것
think we're
같아서
just getting a really
기쁘고,
good start of the
물론
season.
이번에도 우승해서 너무 좋지만 앞으로
And I'm
더
so happy that we're
우승 많이
able
할수 있다고
to secure
생각해서
another title. And I feel like
열심히 하겠습니다.
I have a good feeling I
오늘
would be able
경기장에
to
오시면서 예감이
keep it
좋으셨나요?
going. Did you have a good feeling on your way to the
일단은
arena
좀
today?
무서웠던 것 같아요. 원래 항상 너무 뭔가 그냥 결승전
You know,
할 때마다
every
항상
time
좀
I come to
아무래도
the finals,
KC가 좀 부진했던 팀이기 때문에 그래서 그런 건 좀 뭐라지 좀 경계 많이 했던 것 같아요. 언더도
You know,
그런 걸좀 경계했던 것 같습니다.
Carmine Corp was
실제로 또
actually
1세트에 예상치 못한 일격을
had
맞았는데
underperformed before, but they were arising as the underdogs. So I was very on guard today.
팀원분들과 어떤 피드백을 나누셨나요?
And what
일단
kind of
1세트
feedback did you have
사실
with your team after game
뱀픽적으로
one?
뭔가 좀 빡셀 것 같다고 저는 생각을
You know, I already
했었어가지고
expected that
크게
game
뭔가
one wouldn't
상심하지
be easy.
않고 다음 판 준비했던 것
And
같아요.
I don't think we actually
이번 퍼스트
rooted
스탠드
or
토너먼트에서
dwelled too
제우스
much up
선수의
on
위력을
that, and we
더더욱
just
느낄 수
wanted to focus
있었습니다.
on the
앞으로는 어떤
upcoming
목표를
games.
향해 나아가실 건가요?
And what goals do you have moving forward?
좋기 때문에 앞으로의 대회에서도 이런 계속 우승할 수 있는 게 당연히 목표인 것 같습니다.
Honestly, my goal is to win as many titles as possible this year.
이어서 정글의 피넛 선수와
And let's talk
이야기
to Peanut.
나눠보겠습니다. 우승 정말
In
축하드립니다.
jungle,
감사합니다.
congratulations.
끝까지 가면 우리가 다
You said
이긴다라고
once we go all the way,
말씀해
we will
주시기도
win.
했고, 17년도 MSI에서
And after winning your 2027 MSI title,
청부사의 역할을 톡톡히
you seized
치러내셨는데요.
the trophy against
우승하신 소감이
LEC again.
어떠신가요?
How do you feel?
네, 정말 오랜만에 국제전에서 우승을
You know,
하게 돼서
it's been
당연히
such a
너무
long
좋고요.
time since I got my
좋은
title
기회들도
in an
많이
international
있었는데
stage.
그때는 다 잡지 못했는데 오늘은 이렇게
And we lost our
운 좋게
opportunity.
잡게 돼서 너무 좋은
I
것
personally
같습니다.
lost my opportunity
앞서
before,
제우스
but I'm
선수도
really
살짝
glad that I'm
설명해
able to
주셨는데
get
사실
another
하나
championship.
작년부터 BO5에서
And since last year, you were undefeated in game one of every best five. So after losing game one, what did you discuss as a team?
상대가 워낙 잘하기도 했고
You know, the enemy played out really
제가
well, and I
생각하기에는
personally
확실히
think
조합의 난이도가 조금 있었던
that
판이었다고 생각을
that game
들어서
one had a
2,
very
3, 4
high difficulty in terms of
뱀픽만
the
잘해서
draft.
하면은 충분히 이길 수
So
있다
I
이런
think we
이야기
discussed
나눴던
as a
것 같아요.
team that as long as we do a better job in draft, we would be able to
많은
win.
의미가 있는 한 해가 될 것 같은데 남은 1년 어떻게 보내고 싶으신지 목표와 각오 한마디
So what is your
부탁드립니다.
goal for the rest of the
네,
year?
시즌 초반을 이렇게 너무 유의미하게 보낸 것 같아가지고
You know,
너무
it's been
좋고
such a meaningful
이
start
기세에
of the year.
더 많이 우승할 수 있도록
So we'll
노력
try
많이
our
하겠습니다.
best to make sure that we can secure as many titles as possible.
이어서 제카
Next
선수
up, we got
만나보겠습니다.
Zeka.
퍼스트 스탠드 토너먼트 초대 챔피언에 등극하셨습니다.
You are the
소감이
inaugural
어떠신가요?
first stand champion. How do you feel?
LCK 컵에 이어서
You know, following the LCK Cup,
국제 대회를 또 롤파크에서 하기도 했어가지고
the newest international tournament was being opened at Lowell Park, so I'm just really glad that we're able to secure that victory. And so this was the first international tournament with the newly implemented format. What gave you the biggest trouble? No, I think we had this opportunity to experiment as much as we can with the newest format. So I think we were able to prove that we are the best given the new format, and I think we did really well today. And you were the Oppo player of the series. How do you feel? No, aside from myself, I think it wouldn't be weird that any of the other teammates would get the player of the series. I'm just really thankful for them for playing out their hearts. And I'm just really happy that you're able to, I'm so honored that I'm able to get the player of the series. So what do you think got you the player of the series? Maybe my Silas game? No, I think I had a pretty clean game with my Silas, so maybe that's what it was. So Silas, as a champion, you needed a lot of confidence, and you have to go into the game with the mindset that you will win. So I think that's what really paid off. And what are your goals for the future? You know, this is such a good start of the year. I want to make sure that we keep it up. We'll keep practicing and working hard to make sure that we can keep making this happen.
네, 그리고 4년 만에 국제전 우승을 이루어낸 바이퍼 선수
And
한번
let's move on to
만나보겠습니다.
Viper, who just secured his first international title after 4 years.
국제대회 우승을 가져오면서
The god of AD
증명할 수
carry,
있었는데요. 우승 소감
Professor
어떠신가요?
Viper, how do you feel as the very first FST champion?
이렇게 좋은 팀원들을 만나서
You know, just being able to
경기할 수
play with
있었다는 것
such
자체가
great
되게
teammates
즐거웠고
gave me
또
such enjoyment.
우승까지 하게 돼서 두 배로 더
And being
기쁨이
able to secure the victory and the title makes me even happier.
단숨에 달려왔습니다. 이번 경험이 바이퍼 선수에게는
Not one
어떤
match
영향을
was
줄 것
dropped for
같으신가요?
this first stand title. What kind of
이번에
experience
이제
did
처음
this serve
열리는
as?
국제 대회이기도 하고 이런 약간 방식의 대회가 경험이 없었는데
You know, I had no
일정도
experience
그렇고 좀더
with this international tournament like this.
집중하는 그런
But I
방법을
think I
배운 것
learned
같고
how to
또
stay focused in such
잘
a
해줄 수
short
있을 것 같아요.
tournament. So I think this will pay
마지막으로
off
뜨거운 응원을
very much
보내주신
in the
팬분들께
future.
한마디 부탁드립니다.
And any message over to your fans?
LCK 컵부터
Since the LCK Cup to the first stand, thank you so much for all your support.
앞으로도 더 많이 응원해 주시면
And I hope you can keep cheering for us in the
네,
future.
다시 한번 축하드립니다, 바이퍼 선수.
Congratulations again. Thank you.
이어서 딜라이트 선수
And let's have
만나보겠습니다.
a talk with
축하드립니다.
Delight.
감사합니다.
Congratulations.
딜라이트 선수에게는 첫
This is
국제대회
your first
우승입니다.
international
정말 의미가
title.
남다를 것 같은데요. 소감이
How
어떠신가요?
does it feel?
일단 항상 MSI나 이렇게 롤드컵만 바로 왔었는데
You know, I've always just
이 생기고
participated in MSI and Worlds.
나가서 참가하게 되었는데 이렇게
And
우승하게 돼서
I feel like
좋았습니다.
being able
오늘
to stand here
결승이라는
today
굉장히 중요한
in a
무대에서
new international
세트,
tournament like
드라가스와
First
같은
Stand and
정말
being able to
기
win
주력팀이
makes me so
나왔습니다.
happy.
어떤 자신감이 있었기에
And
이런
you
픽을 꺼내줄 수
played set
있었나요?
support in Game 3 and support Gragas in Game 4. What made you pick them without hesitation?
뭐가 좋은지 얘기를 한 다음에
You know, I
같이
discussed
이렇게
as a
챔피언
team
선택해봤습니다.
during the draft
이번
phase
퍼스트 스탠드 활약
what kind
덕분에
of
전 세계
champion I need to play to
팬분들께
fit
딜라이트라는
our
이름을
comp,
제대로
and that's what we
알린
came
것
up with.
같습니다. 앞으로는 어떤 목표를 향해서 나아가실
And with
건가요?
so much anticipation in the future, what would you like to do in the future?
가보자는 목표를 좀 세웠는데 꼭 거기까지 갈
You
수
know,
있도록
I had so many goals for
네,
this year. I
다시 한번
want to make it
딜라이트
to
선수 정말
Worlds, so I hope
축하드립니다.
I can achieve it this time.
네, 이어서 댄디
Next up,
감독님
we have head
만나보겠습니다.
coach
축하드립니다.
Dandy.
감사합니다.
Congratulations!
LCK 컵 우승에서부터
Following the
퍼스트
LCK
스탠드
Cup
우승까지 정말
title,
힘차게 팀을 잘 이끌어
You have led the
와주셨습니다.
team to
소감이
become the
어떠신가요?
inaugural champion of the newest international tournament. How do you feel?
빡빡한 일정 속에서
You know,
이제
this
선수단도 물론
entire
고생했지만
tournament was packed full.
또 여러 팬분들도 되게
full of so many things, and I think from the viewer standpoint, I'm sure you guys all had a lot of fun. And I'm just so happy to make sure that we're able to repay our fans. What was the most memorable moment? No, every moment was very cherishable, but
첫 경기를 졌을 때 사실 첫 경기 패배가 너무 오랜만이다 보니까 되게
the first game loss actually stands out a lot because we hadn't lost the first game of a best of 5 in such a long time.
멘탈적으로도 흔들릴 수 있었을 텐데 감독으로서 선수분들께
So
어떤
what kind of
조언을
advice did you give to your players after that loss in game 1?
첫 경기 한 거라서 나머지 경기들 잘 멘탈 잡고
You know, I just told them that as long as we get a good mental reset,
플레이해 준 것 같습니다.
that we got this, that we are able to win.
우승까지 달려준 하나생명 팀원분들께 한마디
And anything you'd like
부탁드립니다.
to say to your players?
일단 너무 고생 많았고
Good work with you guys.
지금까지 좀 빡빡한 일정 속에서 대회하느라 좀 힘들었을 텐데
Despite such a rough schedule, it must have been so hard.
만큼 최대한 좀 쉬고
I hope that you guys get a restful break and let's get ready for the next season.
축하드립니다. 네, 다시 한번 2025
And with
퍼스트
that,
스탠드 토너먼트 파이널
The
초대
2025
하나생명
First
esports
Stand
정말
Tournament
축하드립니다.
Finals comes to
오늘은
an
뜨거운
end.
감동을 함께해 주신 모든 분들의 열정을 가슴에 새기며 저희는 다음 무대를
And your
기약하겠습니다.
passion and
다시
enthusiasm
한번 퍼스트
have
스탠드
made this
토너먼트
event
초대 챔피언 탄생을
truly
축하드리면서
special.
저희는 여기서 인사드리겠습니다.
With this incredible energy in our hearts, we look forward to the next event. Let's give one last round of applause to the inaugural champions. This is where we say goodbye. Thank you, and see you next time.
Thank you so much, Dia, for the translation. And once again, huge congratulations to Hanwha Life Esports for being our inaugural First Stand winners. Lifting the trophy once again. The first international title for Hanwha Life Esports.
Extremely deserving winners. And honestly, this tournament has just made me excited for MSI and for Worlds. Having Fearless at those events, I think it's just going to get better and better.
Shout out to all the crew as well, both in front of the camera. I really want to thank ourselves, but mostly everyone behind. There's an entire team of people,
Legends.
you know, all the videos, the hype. It's always a pleasure.
An absolute blast, and on behalf of our entire casting team and crew, congratulations, Hanwha Life, and thank you, the viewers, for watching. We'll see you next time as we look forward to MSI, and we'll sign you in to Split 2 with Fearless Draft for the rest of the year, remember. Woo! Good night.